Today I'm going to be going through 3 techniques that you can use when animating text in After Effects. The first one being masking to hide where the text is coming from, cutting text in half and revealing the word as a whole, morphing text from one word to another, essentially using a mask shape to change into another mask shape. So with that being said, let's get into this tutorial. And on to technique number 1. I have After Effects open here, and the first thing I want to do is make a new composition. Then press Ctrl+T to create text. Let's center the text and go to Align and center it vertically and horizontally. Then holding on to Control, double click here at the anchor point icon. Center the anchor point. I'm going to adjust the size of the text and press S to open up the scale properties. Then go to the scale parameters and type in 75. Now let's animate the text and just move it from left to right. With the text layer selected, press P to open up the position properties. And let's create the first keyframe and move it 10 frames forward from the beginning of the timeline. Press page down 10 times. Click on the keyframe icon in position, then go back to the beginning of the timeline and go into the x-axis to move the text to the left. This will automatically create the first keyframe. I'm going to add some easing to the keyframes to smoothen the animation. Ease out at the starting keyframe and ease in at the ending keyframe. I'm going to add some motion blur to the animation. Go down here and click the toggle switches modes button, or press F4 on your keyboard and your view will change from this to this. Click on the motion blur icon and that's pretty much it for that. All we have to do now is create a mask that will hide the text animating in from the left side. But first, I'm going to make this text layer its own composition in order for this technique to work. Select the layer and press Ctrl+Shift+C. Then title the composition and move all attributes into new composition. Now we can apply a mask to this composition. You can go up here to pick a shape of the mask that you want to make, or press Q until you see the shape that you want to use. For this example, I'm going to want to use rectangle tool. Click and drag the mask from the top left corner till the text is revealed. Everything within this shape is going to be what is visible on screen. And since I want to hide where the text is coming from, this is why I started creating the mask from the top left corner. We can bring this area of the mask in more by selecting this area and move it with the arrow buttons on your keyboard. But if everything looks good to your preference, press the spacebar to play back and you will see that the text animates in, and this area is hidden, making the text look as if it comes out of nowhere. It's a pretty simple technique but can be effective. Next we have technique number 2. I'm going to use the same text layer, then duplicate the layer. Select both layers and go 15 frames forward from the start of the timeline. Press P to open up the position properties and create the ending keyframe. Then go back to the beginning of the timeline. Let's isolate the first layer and then turn on the ruler, Ctrl+R. Go up to the top of the ruler, and when you see the cursor change to this, click in here, hold and drag a guideline down to the center of the anchor point of the text layer. This guideline is where we're going to have both masks of the text layers meet. But going back to the first text layer, let's create the first keyframe. Go to the y-axis in position and move the text down below the guideline. Then go to the second layer, isolate this layer now, and in the y-axis in position, move this text up. Let's turn on both layers and press spacebar to play. The text should play out like this. I'm going to make each layer their own composition now. Isolate the top layer and mask the top half of the text layer. Press Q for the mask tool. Drag the mask over the top half and use the guideline as a reference to where the mask should stop. Then isolate the bottom layer and mask the bottom half of the second text layer. Turn on both layers, go to the beginning of the timeline and press spacebar. The animation should play like this, having both halves of the text be revealed from the top and bottom, as if to come in from the center. And I almost forgot, but let's go into each composition to add the easing to each keyframe. Ease out for the first keyframes and ease in for the last keyframes. Then press F4 or toggle switches modes and click the motion blur icon. This is a step up in difficulty from the first, but still pretty simple to follow. Last but not least, technique number 3. This one has a bit more steps and differs from the other two techniques as we're not using masks to hide parts of the text, but we're using the masks as a way to reshape or morph each letter into another letter. So to get this started, I'm going to have two text layers, one layer saying text and the other layer saying here. I'm going to start with the word text and then have this morph into the word here. But anyway, here are the two text layers centered within the screen, and I want to change both of them to masks. Let's start with the first word text, and in order to make this into a mask, I'm going to right click on this layer and go to create, then create masks from text. You will now see that there are two layers of the same word, but one being the actual text and then second being the text in mask form or outline form. Open this layer up and you can see that each letter is their own mask. I'm going to open up each of these masks and create keyframes for all of them. To select all the masks, select the first T mask, and while holding Shift, go down to the last letter T and select. You should see all the letter masks are highlighted now. Click on this arrow to open up their properties, then click on the mask path keyframe to create keyframes for all the letters. Now let's do the same thing for the next word, here. Okay, I have all the keyframes set for the word here, and to make the word text morph into the word here, I'm going to copy and paste the keyframes of each letter from here into each letter of text. You want the relative keyframes to be pasted in the correct mask path of each relative letter. For example, I want the first letter in text, which is T, to morph into the first letter of here, which is H. So I'm going to copy and paste the keyframe from H into the mask path of T. I'm going to leave about 1 second between each keyframe to allow the morph to go into effect. Let me delete these layers now so that we can focus on the masked layers. I'm going to keep the layer for the word text at the top and hide the layer for here so that only the layer for the word text is showing. Let's do this for the rest of the letters. The second letter in text is E, and the second letter in here is also E. So this won't change into anything, which is kind of lame. So let me use a mask I created for the number 3. So this E will have something to morph into for this demo. X will change to R, but as you can see, there are two mask shapes for R. Because the first mask is the outer shape of R and the second mask is the inner shape in R. For the sake of showing you how this technique works, I'll just copy the keyframe of the outer shape of R and paste it in the mask path of X. Last set of letters in text, we're going to change the last letter T to E. Copy the keyframe for the last letter E in here and paste that into the mask path of T. Now I'm going to make an adjustment and move the set of keyframes forward 15 frames at the beginning of the timeline to allow us some time to play before the morphing goes into effect. Press spacebar to play, and now you can see that each letter of the word text is morphing into each letter of the word here. Okay, that's all I got for you today in this video. I hope you learned something about masking in After Effects, and if you did, please give this video a like and or subscribe to get notified for future videos. I hope you found these techniques useful and will apply them to your future projects. If you have any questions about anything in this video, leave a comment down below. I'm here to help. If you're interested in another way to morph your text, I put together a video that I hope you will enjoy. Just click in the box over here and I'll see you there. If not, stay tuned for the next one. Till next time, keep thinking about your next project and just create it. Peace.